All right, let's talk about perspective and perception, and what I call the threshold of understanding. I mean, have you ever felt just completely misunderstood? Or maybe you've been on the other side, where you realize you totally misjudged a situation? Well, today we're going to dig into exactly why that happens. We're going to explore that delicate and pretty much invisible space between what we think and how other people see it. You know, this quote right here, it's the perfect place to start. Because, let's be honest, this is a belief most of us just kind of have, right? We don't even think about it. We trust our own eyes, we trust our own gut feelings. We're absolutely convinced that what we see, well, that is reality. But, yeah, the truth is always a little more complicated, isn't it? That belief, as solid as it might feel, is actually built on some pretty shaky ground. See, the truth is, we don't really see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. And that brings us to our first big idea here, the subjective lens. We see the world as we are. Think about it. Your vision of the world isn't like looking through a perfectly clean window. Nope. It's more like a lens, and it's colored by everything that makes you, you. Your past, your hopes, your fears. Everything you see gets filtered through that lens. So imagine this. Between a raw experience and the meaning we attach to it, there's this invisible threshold. Okay, so on one side of that threshold, you have a simple fact. Rain starts to fall. But on the other side, you have the meaning you give it. For one person, that's sadness, a canceled picnic. For another, it's relief, a farmer needing rain for his crops. It's right there, at that threshold, that we actually build our own personal reality. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. Perspective versus perception. We're going to define our internal and external realities. To really get a handle on this whole threshold idea, we have to be super clear about the two big forces at play. What's going on inside our heads, our perspective, and what's happening out there in the world, perception. And boom, here it is, the core of the whole thing. Your perception, that's the image in your mind. Perception, that's how that image lands with someone else. And here's the kicker. They are almost never the same thing, rarely, if ever. So let's zoom in on perspective for a second. To you, the image in your mind is crystal clear. It feels totally logical, completely right, and why wouldn't it? You've built it, piece by piece, from all of your unique experiences, your beliefs, your failures. It's your personal blueprint for how the world works. But, and this is a big but, that clarity you feel inside your head, it doesn't just magically transfer into someone else's. Because the second your perspective leaves you, the moment you say it out loud or write it down, perception takes over. It's out of your hands. That carefully constructed idea of yours is now being filtered, judged, and totally reconstructed by somebody else's history, their emotions, their context. It's why the exact same words can be an inspiration to one person and a total insult to another. The message itself didn't change. The perception of it did. So what happens when your perspective and someone else's perception just don't line up? Well, you get what we're calling the gap of misunderstanding. This is exactly where communication breaks down. It's inside this gap that connections fall apart, and honestly, where a lot of conflict gets started. So, where is misunderstanding born? Seriously, think about it. The last time you felt totally misunderstood, or you completely misread someone else, where did that breakdown actually happen? The answer is always, always in that gap. The gap lives right here. It's the space between your intention, the message you send, and their reception, the message they actually receive. What you mean to say and what they actually hear. They can be two completely different realities. And what separates them? A whole bunch of invisible filters. And yeah, let's talk about these filters of perception. You've got history, their past experiences with you or with people like you totally shapes how they interpret your words. You've got emotion, how they're feeling in that exact moment can change the meaning entirely. Then there's bias, all those unconscious shortcuts their brain is taking. And finally, context. What's going on around you guys? All of these things work together to basically rebuild your message in their mind. Okay, so what do we do about all this? This is where we talk about mastering the threshold, the discipline of standing in the gap. Look, we can't just get rid of the gap. It's always going to be there, but we can learn to manage it. This is where things like maturity and emotional intelligence really come into play. It's about developing the discipline to consciously stand right in the middle of that gap, fully aware that your perspective isn't the only one in the room. And the path to mastering this, Well, it boils down to 3 key practices. Step 1 is empathy. That means you're actively trying to figure out what the other person's filters might be. Step 2 is precision. This is about choosing your words carefully, knowing, like really knowing that they are absolutely going to be filtered. And step 3, patience. Just accepting that bridging this gap, it's tough and it takes real work. And I want to be super clear about something. This is not about manipulation. It's not about learning tricks to get people to see things your way. It's about mastery. It's about mastering the craft of communication. It's the art of building a bridge between 2 completely separate realities so that you can find some kind of shared understanding. So as we start to bring this all together, it's so important to get this next part. This is a lifelong practice because understanding is intentional. This isn't some quick hack you learn once and you're done. No way. This is a continuous day in, day out practice for the rest of your life. Because real, true understanding, it never, ever happens by accident. I absolutely love this way of thinking about it. Your message doesn't transfer whole, it echoes. It's never a perfect one-to-one copy. It's always going to be a little bit altered by the time it reaches the other side. But, and this is the hopeful part, with real effort, with some humility, we can make that echo sound a whole lot more like our original voice. We can, for sure, narrow that gap. Look, if there's only one thing you remember from all of this, please let it be this quote right here. Understanding is not automatic. It is intentional. We have to actively choose to understand. We have to decide to put in the work because our brains just won't do it for us on autopilot. It takes a deliberate act of will every single time. So, in the end, that threshold of understanding we've been talking about, it's not some destination you finally get to. It's not a finish line. It's a practice. It's a space you have to practice visiting over and over again. It's about constantly coming back to empathy, to precision, and to patience in every single conversation, every single day. And so I'm going to leave you with this to think about. A question for you. In your work, in your relationships, even in how you talk to yourself, how are you going to choose to stand in that gap?